Hi, it's Anne-Marie from Charmed Life Therapy again. I wasn't sure I was going to be talking about this subject again, the whole legal dispute between Blake Lively, Ryan Reynolds and Justin Baldoni, but something interesting came up today. One of Kirsty Floor's recent videos highlighted this interview that Blake Lively Reynolds did a couple of years ago, and it was for Forbes Women of Power. And she was interviewed, I guess it was about her drinks company at the time, but it's really well worth watching that video. I mean, Kirsty in her video highlighted a couple of clips, but I actually think the whole 20-minute video is well worth watching for anybody that's shared an interest in this case, because there's just so many moments that, if that, to my mind, if that goes to the lawsuit, if the lawyers involved see that, then it's just a slam dunk, because literally there's just so many instances of where she talks about the powerful people that she has and how lucky she has to have those people helping her. And she again talks about how somehow she's not been elevated to the places that she believes she deserves to have been elevated in the past. She does touch on that, and she also touches on things like being really self-aware and noticing red flags and when you should step away from things and when you should push harder. And I just find it all so very, very interesting. It's like, because this is what we all do. We all talk the talk and say the things, and then we go off and do something different, entirely different in our own lives, because we switch up that narrative to suit ourselves. And there's literally a point in this interview, I think it's around about the 12-minute mark, where she basically says that as an actress, what she will do is have the interview for it, or what the conversation, whatever it is. I don't know if she's still has to audition for anything anymore. I don't know if she's at that level. But when she has that pre-interview thing with anybody, whether discussing the story or the direction for it or whatever it is, she basically admits here in this video that she says what she needs to say in order to get the part that she wants. And then once she has the part she wants, she starts stepping over the boundaries. So she starts trying to tweak with the script. She starts trying to tweak with the costume. She inserts herself wherever she feels that she needs authorship over it. And those are the words she uses over and over and over again, that she needs to have authorship. Otherwise, basically, it's not worth her doing, because she's a creative person. So she needs her creative expression all over it. So that is kind of the problem, because what the woman needs is to be a director and to have her own production company, because then she can have her own creative vision and her own authorship. But she got hired as an actress to help Justin Baldoni create his vision. She came on to enable him in his authorship of his project. He'd been very clear. If you watch any interview to do with him, he's very clear about how much this meant to him, how much research had gone into it, the organisations he'd worked with. So it was very much about women's issues and being seen from the female gaze and all of this. He knew exactly what he wanted for this vision, and in all good faith, he hired Blake Lively as an actress to come on board. And that's basically what she's done. She's come in as an actress and then started stamping her authority all over his creative vision, his project that he'd found the financing for, that he'd got, greenlit by Sony and all the rest of it. She basically stole his project, because in her mind, her authorship, her creative vision is more important than anybody else's. And what actually is partly is that she doesn't know how to be an actress without making it fit her. So again, it's what I've talked about before when it comes down to self-esteem. In this Forbes interview, and I'll put the link in the description, so you can watch it for yourself and make your own judgments. But she basically does touch on vaguely that, she does tend to be a bit of an anxious person. I think that comes across. She's that bubbliness, that incessant talking that she does that is a coping mechanism. It's filling those awkward silences. It's when you can't pause and read the room or whatever's going on, you've got a problem, because that is anxiety driven. If you don't feel comfortable in an uncomfortable silence, you know what I mean? Because that's kind of what I said before when, you know, the dancing scene that we were shown, that Justin Baldoni says, well, here's this scene where she's supposedly accusing me of sexual harassment. I don't see any problem in this. And the majority of the world didn't either. She's saying it highlights sexual harassment. But what we see is that very early on, Justin Baldoni wants to have a moment where it's just eye contact between the two characters, that he's going to film this slow-mo thing where they're both just gazing into each other's eyes, you know, lovingly, with love burgeoning and all of these things. And she's saying, no, we need to talk. There should be conversation. She's directing him. And what that means is that, you can't really do it in slow-mo, because you can't have mouths moving in slow-mo because it looks ridiculous. But what that actually is she can't hack, just in silence, making eye contact with like this gorgeous, charming man, basically. She can't just hold his gaze and not speak. And what she actually says is that Ryan and I were just, you know, because he explains that he and his wife are just comfortable sharing each other's gaze for 5 minutes, you know, and just being on that wavelength and not needing words to know what the other person is thinking. Whereas she's like, no, Ryan and I, it's like, there's not enough time for the talking in all of the world. You know, we don't have enough time to talk. And that's the problem, isn't it? Because if you can't sit in each other's silence and just know each other, you got to question that relationship, really. So she is very, very uncomfortable emoting, really, in a normal way because of her own insecurities. And this whole drama and this whole palaver is all about her lack of security and needing to take it from where she can get it, and needing people like Taylor Swift, like Ryan Reynolds, to help her get her way, because she doesn't feel like, if she tries to get it on her own, she feels like she gets shot down, and that's unfair. That's where it comes down to. She thinks it's unfair if she doesn't get her own way. She doesn't see that we're not supposed to get our own way all of the time. That's not the way it works, especially when it comes to it being somebody else's creative vision, somebody else's project, and you've been hired to just play one part in that, not to take over the whole scenario. But the problem that's happened here is probably for the first time in her life, she's encountered like a fairly young production company, you know, that's just getting started. She's got Justin Baldoni, who's not like, he's had some projects, but he's not like a massive big name director. And he's also come from the perspective of, you know, doing his best to be a feminist, to see things from the female perspective and to empower women. So there's been this perfect storm of a situation where you get an entitled woman who's very insecure, who thinks in order to get her own way, she has to wipe out anybody else's vision. And then you've got this very sensitive, very caring man who wants to give a woman some power and, you know, blah, 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 but still hang on to his creative vision. And he's made the mistake early on of letting her have a little bit and a little bit and a little bit more, until it's got to the point where she's kept extorting him. You know, well, if you don't do this, I won't do that. If you don't do this, I won't do that. If you don't do this, I won't do that. Until he's lost complete control over it. So, you know, when people say, you know, they're looking for fault and all of this, it really is a perfect storm of things that have come to fruition all on this project. And that's my feeling about it, and why I want everybody not to be thinking of necessarily in terms of who's right and who's wrong, although I very much do think he deserves an apology for the accusation of sexual harassment that has really ruined his livelihood and his prospects. But so he does need to have that, and he certainly needs financial recompense. But there's no real joy in all of this going to court and you know, just fueling this storm more and more and more. What I'd like to see people getting out of it is to be examining their own actions. You know, the win to me would be for Blake Lively to look up to to find some self-awareness and be able to look at all of this and think, how did I get myself into this? You know, what do I need to do here? I need to examine my own actions, and do I need some help with that? And Ryan Reynolds needs to examine his actions, and Justin Baldoni needs to examine his actions, because he needs to realise that, you know, this was his project, and early on he needed to have made a decision to go into it fearlessly and not worry about what power Ryan Reynolds had, and not worry about what power she had, or what might happen if he stood his ground. You know, he hired her on knowing the power that was behind her, and he kind of made a devil's bargain, if you like, because I guess he was thinking it'll do the movie good, and he wanted this movie to get out in front of a lot of women and all of that. So he's kind of pussyfooted a little bit. So he does have some culpability in that sense, in trying to be so nice. He has let it get away from him, and like, as it's progressed and it's got more and more, he's got gradually more and more defeated feeling. And when you get like that, when you feel like it's coming at you from all angles, believe me, it's absolutely exhausting. It wipes everything out of you. All you want to do is just go to bed and hide. So I can imagine by the end of that project how exhausted he was. But literally, I would just love for everybody to come out of it with more self-awareness and realising what they've done and where they went wrong. Because I just feel like this movie at this time, and this perfect storm, it's happened to teach us all something, you know, about life and about ourselves, and about working together and having compassion for somebody else's point of view and somebody else's vision, and everybody coming together and empowering each other. You know, if you watch this Forbes interview, Blake Lively's all about empowerment and you know, working together and being a collaborator. Well, basically she's come in and stomped all over his vision, and she can't see that. She can only see that she's in the right. And on top of that, then she's invented this sexual harassment thing, which at this point in time I don't believe has happened at all. And when you do that to somebody, that is kind of unforgivable, really, because that's something that you know is going to have a devastating impact on somebody. And it's also becoming clear just how kind of Machiavellian Ryan Reynolds is in the level to which he is willing to go to try and humiliate somebody, like across the board. Because literally throughout that period, it's like everything that Ryan Reynolds touched, whether it be publicity, merchandise he was putting out, whatever, Instagram, Facebook posts, whatever it was, all of it, so much of it had a dig in it aimed at Justin Baldoni through the use of nice pull and very smart, very clever language. But it's coming unravelled now, because even like it's clear that Ryan Reynolds provided the text for even the personal trainer's post that was involved. You know, people are noticing that the same language is happening across the board on various things where people have come out in support of Ryan Reynolds or Blake Lively, and the language is tying up, so that, you know, the language is coming from the same source, which clearly looks like it's coming from Ryan Reynolds. So it's whether these people can ever step outside of themselves and see what they're doing. And these people, you know, are often doing good things in many other ways, but this just is so, this is why I think it's, you know, it just grasps the public's attention like it is, because it's so fascinating to witness human behaviour and the human ego in particular in action, you know. And we are not our egos. It's our egos that get us into shit like this, you know, that get us into such big catastrophes like this, where you can lose everything that you've spent years building up, you know, including your reputation. So I'd really encourage you to watch that Forbes interview, because it's literally almost like a trailer for the movie. Or a trailer for the lawsuit, if you like. If you watch that Forbes interview, you think, oh, I can see that all across that lawsuit. You know what I mean? I can track it, basically. It's so funny. So I'd really encourage you, if you're interested in this case at all, to go and watch that. But yeah, just whatever you're seeing that you come across to do with this case, please just analyse it through the lens of, what can I learn from this? Where have I done similar things to that in my life, where I've thought that my way was the best way and I did anything possible to make sure everything went my way? And then did it really work out all that well in the end? Or who did I hurt? Who lost out? Was it worth the sacrifice? You know, just kind of look at it from all of that, because I think the problem here was that, like I said at the beginning, Blake Lively, if she really insists on her authority on something, her creator, it has to all look like her vision, then she needs to be a director. She doesn't need to be an actress. But the problem is, she needs help to go be a director. She needs some powerful person. She needs Taylor Swift to ask her to direct a music video. And the thing is, yes, Blake Lively may have directed that music video years ago, but who was really pulling the strings? Do you really think Taylor Swift wasn't all over that directorship of that video? You know what I mean? So that's Blake Lively's problem, is she wants all this control, but she doesn't have the self-esteem required to do that in a way that doesn't trample all over somebody else. You know what I mean? She's not been raised to empower herself, because she's not been raised to accept failure or no or bounce back after something's gone wrong. She was raised to just get her own way all the time. So that's all she knows. So that's why she walks around in the world filling all the awkward silences with mindless chatter, because she doesn't know how to just be quiet and think and sit back and let somebody else shine. Because if somebody else shines, it threatens her, because maybe they're better than her, because inside, that's what she thinks, that somebody else is better than me. So I need to make it look like this. I need it to be my vision, because if it's my vision, I know how to talk about it. I know how to put it across. I know what to say in interviews if it looks like me. But if it looks like somebody else's vision and I maybe don't quite understand that vision or that perspective, I won't know what the hell to say. That's my feeling, that it all does boil down to self-esteem. And that's why we all need to be looking at this thing of, how do we go out into the world? What is our self-esteem? What trouble do we get ourselves into because we lack self-esteem, and we come out fighting, or we come out argumentative, or we hit somebody before they hit us, whatever it is, you know? That is what I think we all need to take from this. I think that's why this whole thing is happening, that the universe is having a big cosmic, shit show of, will you please just all go out and look at yourselves, look at what you're doing to yourselves, and looking out for and to each other, because you're all supposed to be working together. You're all supposed to be elevating each other. You're all supposed to be listening to each other. You're all supposed to be doing acts of service that help other people out. You know what I mean? It's not all about you. It's about the collective and pulling together. And that's what this is all about to me. It's trying to give us the biggest, mirror that we can look in and just see what crap we do to ourselves and we do to each other. That's my message I'm taking from all of this. Anyway, please do go watch that Forbes interview if you're interested in any of this at all. And please do consider liking this video, subscribing to this channel. If anything I've had to say today is of interest, I make lots of videos on the topics of self-esteem, bit of spirituality, hypnotherapy, depression, anxiety, changing your life, transformation, and all the rest of it. So please do consider subscribing and hitting that notification bell so you never miss a video too. All right, thank you for watching.